It's an orange juice.
What's up, everyone? It's OJ. I am joined here with Woody. How you doing today?
Howdy guys, thanks so much for inviting me onto your channel, OJ. It's always a pleasure to be here. I'm really looking forward to some good chat about the balance changes.
Yeah, so we already had my balance video out. So we know the raw interactions of things, but my video is focused more on like the micro side of things. How do you feel about like the macro side of things?
Yeah, I think that...
Talk to me, baby.
Of course, I think that the beatdown decks are going to have a little bit of a scale back. I think that especially the giant double prince is going to get hit hard because of the double prince getting that big scale back on his shield. But I think that overall ground-based strategies are still going to be pretty dominant. I don't expect Lava Hound balloon strats to make much of a comeback. I think that log bait could potentially make a little bit more inroads here now with fewer Dark Princes out there. I think that Prince is actually still going to be quite strong because there's been no changes to him whatsoever. So we might still see giant Prince decks, which were popular not quite a year ago, but around that time.
For me, the grand scheme of things, I think my favorite thing is that they buffed the Dark Goblin.
Right.
So it's going to be used more, and you're not going to have to commit a Fireball and Minion Horde anymore. That's a huge change for me. So people are going to start using Dark Goblin more to counter the Minion Horde or minions and all that stuff. The biggest thing, it two-shots Ice Spirit.
Ooh.
You know what that means? It's going to hit the tower. It's going to kill the Ice Spirit, and it's going to get 2 shots on the tower. The Ice Spirit's not going to freeze it anymore. So that really buffs the Dark Goblin. And the Skeleton Barrel is now viable. And Skeleton Barrel pairs really well with Bats. Skeleton Barrel Zap Bait's going to be delicious. It's going to be spicy.
What do you think about Skeleton Barrel buff helping out Graveyard a little bit?
It's hard to say because Tornado now takes out the skeletons a little bit better. We still don't know the exact interactions, but I think it's going to be a lot more reliable.
It'll kill the skeletons, but its duration's going to be shorter, so I don't know if it's going to work that well against Graveyard. It'll definitely be able to wipe out all the skeletons from the skeleton.
It's like a last-ditch resort, but it's still a little bit better, you know? What do you think about the Dark Prince shield? It's 199 now. I really love how it's consistent with the guards.
I think that's a great change. Yeah, it's going to be a lot easier for new players to pick up and kind of understand how shield mechanics work in the game. I think it was also a good move in terms of balance, just because Dark Prince is everywhere now. He's in all sorts of different deck compositions, from beatdown to control, and I haven't seen him in siege yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if some people were trying to pull that off. I think that dealing the same amount of damage as before, but not quite having that same amount of survivability is the right way to get him balanced.
I really like that. I mean, it's only a slight health nerf, but if you think about it from these micro interactions, Mega Minion is the biggest one. That one scares me because now that Mega Minion, it's gonna one-shot it, whereas before it would take 2 shots to take off the shield. It would swipe once, and then the second swipe, you'd still have a sliver of that shield left.
Oh yeah.
And now that Mega Minion doesn't have to hit it twice. That means it's gonna deal an extra, I don't know, 200 damage on its base health. So that's like a 20% health nerf. Not 20%, but you get what I mean.
Exactly, and it might not be as important in single elixir time, but during double elixir time, when the tower's firing away, when you have twice as many troops down, when you're throwing spells left and right, you will definitely notice that shield getting peeled off a lot quicker, and the Dark Prince going down a lot sooner.
How do you feel about the Knight? It's 1350, so the P.E.K.K.A. still 2 shots it, not 3 shots.
You know, we haven't seen P.E.K.K.A. a whole lot, so I don't really expect that interaction to be crucial, but nonetheless, I think that the Knight buff is good. We saw it get scaled back so much just from a relatively small hit point nerf, so getting a little bit more I feel like is going to make it a little bit better for those log bait decks out there. They won't have to rely on Valkyrie as much anymore.
Yeah, it was kind of weird seeing Valkyrie come back because the knife just got nerfed like that, but...
Right.
For the Dark Goblin, he's getting a 3% damage boost, and all these really small things, against the Golem, you're not going to see any damage, because even if it gets that 1 extra shot on, that Golem just punches way, way too slowly.
Right. I don't think that there's going to be much of an interaction change against the heavy hitters. I think that you were right earlier in saying that Dark Goblin being able to take out Ice Spirit, being able to take out those minions really quick, is going to be the real key change. I don't think that he's going to replace Princess, but his long range will make him viable in maybe a completely new deck archetype that we haven't even seen yet.
Well, what about do you think you'll see him alongside the Princess?
Interesting. Yeah, in a log bait style of play. I think that for baiting out, you kind of want to have troops and cards that do different things, right? So you have Goblin Barrel, which can go straight to the backline, Goblin Gang, which is a swarm, and Princess, which is a single unit that can deal a lot of splash damage. I just think that the Princess and Dark Goblin are a little too similar that it would still feel a little awkward to have both of them in your deck.
Humor me here, but Skeleton Barrel, it's more viable now. It's not 8 skeletons, but it's in between.
Yeah,
Skeleton Barrel, Bats, Dart Goblin. Do you think
Yeah.
we're going to be seeing that in log bait decks?
Interesting. Yeah, I like that a lot. You know, there hasn't been any nerf to Ice Golem at all, so I definitely expect him to be a nice little mini tank for small base pushes with bats and Skeleton Barrel. I think that with the increase in the damage from Dart Goblin, we see him more often. That'll mean that you won't need Zap as much to deal with minions. So there's a lot of different moving variables here, and we're just going to have to see what the pros come up with. But right off the bat, I'm going to say that the ground-based attackers are going to be a little bit stronger, so I wouldn't worry so much about bats and minions swarming around.
Yeah, but the Spear Goblins did get a slight attack speed nerf.
That is true.
I don't think it's going to have too many effects. Like, if you look at the Goblin Hut, it's still going to deal the exact same damage because the Spear Goblin's always going to get that one spear off before it dies. I mean, you might see it more when it's against Goblin Hut with Giants and you're stacking up 5 Spear Goblins. You might see a couple more spears hit. How do you feel about this nerf? Do you think it could have been better, or are you happy with it?
I'm actually completely happy with this nerf. I think it was perfect. In low-level play, you still don't really see a whole lot of Spear Goblins. They're not that great. They're annoying enough that they definitely needed a nerf, but they're not dominant. It's only really in high-level play that we started to see Spear Goblins, especially in tournaments, where you have that whole 6 minutes to really whittle down your opponent's tower. That Spear Goblins were annoying, so I feel like dialing back their hit speed by just literally 0.1 seconds. It's hardly any at all. You're not really going to notice it unless you have a lot of them stacked up on your competition.
Woo! Tell me about it. That chip damage is super annoying. It is a 9% DPS nerf, just like we saw in the balance changes.
Yep.
So Ice Spirit, it's really subtle, but it's not. It's 0.5 second freeze duration, like the damage, whatever, but the freeze, that's huge. 0.5 seconds. That's gonna change some interaction.
I love the change. You know, I'm a little sad overall because I do use a lot of Ice Spirit and Expo decks, and it just sees so much play that I think that this will be the appropriate way to dial it back. The damage nerf, you're right, isn't gonna hurt a whole lot. Most of the interactions are gonna stay the same. There are a few little tiny changes here and there, but that little freeze duration is gonna make some big differences for some of the really classic interactions that you can use Ice Spirit for, right? Like on defense against a Musketeer, for example.
At 0.5 seconds, she might actually get a second hit.
I think she will.
Oh my.
So
that's going to be juicy.
That clutch 1-for-4 trade, not going to be quite as valuable anymore. You'll still have to drop something else to try to block that shot. Otherwise, you might take 2.
That, I don't know, if that happens on Tuesday, I'm going to lose my mind. That's a huge interaction.
Yeah.
So that Ice Spirit nerf, it's only 4 damage, but it's going to affect some major interactions. One of them is going to be archers. Do you know which ones are going to be affected?
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about the stun duration, but the damage duration actually will have quite a few interactions with the Archer in specific. It's not a whole lot of cards. There are some changes to minions and lava pups, but mostly it's Archers. If you have a Knight and an Ice Spirit hitting an Archer, that'll kill it right away, right now. But after the update, Ice Spirit's going to lose that little tiny bit of damage that makes the Archer survive, not only against the Knight, but also with a Zap spell, with a Bandit, with a Barbarian, or a Miner.
Oh, that's going to be so monstrous for the Archer. She's going to make a comeback, possibly even with Baby Dragon Golem decks. Possibly, huh? I don't know.
We'll have to see, but you know,
there is Lightning.
There is
Golem.
Lightning. Yeah, true.
Lightning Golem, Baby Dragon, Archers.
Yeah.
Classic. So Skeleton Barrel, it was really, really viable when there were 8 skeletons, and they dropped it down to 6. What changed? I mean, left alone, it still deals 1,000 damage to the tower.
There was a big Mega Knight nerf that really harmed the synergies that Skeleton Barrel worked well with. I think that without the Mega Knight buff, we're probably not going to see too many Skeleton Barrels, but it will be a little bit more dangerous out there now with 7 skeletons spawned instead of just 6. Those Archers are really going to need that help in order to take all those skeletons down.
Oh yeah, the Archer, that's going to be a valuable interaction right there. Now, how about for the Barbarian Barrel? It's 0.5 tiles. And 0.5 tiles, that Barbarian attacks way too slowly. That 0.5 tiles is not enough for it to get 1 extra swing on the tower. It's still going to deal just under 500.
Yeah, the Barbarian Barrel, I'm not really feeling too great about this buff on defense, especially because it doesn't really matter if your Barbarian's right behind the bridge or right on top of the bridge on defense. You're not even able to take out a Goblin Barrel and a Princess at the same time, so it's not even really much of a buff against log bait. It's supposed to be an offensive buff to get your Barbarian a little bit closer to the tower a little bit quicker, but I still don't really feel like it's going to be enough to make Barbarian Barrel great.
I feel like the only interaction change for that is that it's just going to connect to the King Tower now, and it's like, when is the last time I logged the King Tower?
Oh boy.
Maybe like 1 in 1,000 games. I needed that interaction, but I don't think it's enough. I want to see something crazy like Lee Barbarians in the barrel.
Oh my god, no. No, please no, please no.
Well, one can dream, but I also dreamed the day that Lightning would be back at 3.5 tiles. Woo!
That time has finally come, and I'm a little worried about it because I'm not a big fan of lightning. I think that it has the potential to be really overpowered in the right hands.
Says the mortar user. Says the lightning user.
Lightning is not even that good against mortar, but still, nonetheless, I'm happy that it got a little bit of buff. It took way too much away when it got a big damage nerf, and then spells overall got their damage nerf. That really hurt Rocket and Lightning a lot, so we didn't see any lightning at all for the past few months, and maybe with the 3.5 radius, that'll be enough to bring it back. I just hope it doesn't get too annoying.
Well, that lightning spell did get nerfed the same time that the spells got nerfed, so it got nerfed to oblivion. Hopefully, it's a healthy spot now.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see.
Knock on wood.
And anyway,
oh God, please, blooper reel.
Anyways, for the tornado.
Yeah.
This is huge. I think it's done. It is done.
I think that tornado will still be used in like 2v2 matches. I see it still getting a lot of value in being able to pull off that executioner hit, but it's gonna hurt a lot against like things like Hog Rider, against like even Miner. It's gonna be a lot more difficult to pull it onto the King Tower. You'll still be able to pull it off, but it won't get quite as much versatility as it did before. I mean, Hog Rider's in the meta right now. Let's not kid ourselves. He's played right now. He's not dominant by any means, and I think he's still a little bit behind the Giant decks. But
I love the Hog dominant meta. That's what I'm all about that.
Well, we'll see what
That's my buy side coming on. I just love playing him. I just love Bacon so much, but I think the big like
part of this balanced breakfast, right? Bacon and orange juice.
I love oatmeal
perfect
too.
Together.
Oatmeal?
Okay.
Yeah. Oatmeal and orange juice, it's really solid. So for the Executioner Tornado, I think it's still going to be amazing for 2v2, maybe even ex-NATO decks will still be viable.
Okay.
But I think the biggest interaction change is that I don't think that suction is long enough to pull the Giant or the Golem to activate the King Tower anymore.
Yeah.
I really don't think it is enough.
It just lost that good suck, and we're not going to have the ability to get those big bodies onto the King anymore.
Magic Archer, he's not gonna shoot a million. He's not gonna waste his entire quiver of arrows anymore. He's gonna actually be able to take care of the Goblin Hut now. I don't think that's enough to make him meta. How do you feel about this change?
Yeah, I mean, he went out and did some archery training with Mulan, but I don't really know if that's going to be quite enough to make him meta again. He's going to be able to hit those faster targets a little bit better, and that is kind of actually the source of his weakness, I feel like, is going up against those targets that can run out of distance too fast, but he can't one-shot Spirit Goblins. Like, what's the point of even being able to hit them if you can't take them down in one hit?
That's right. I feel like I wanted something more concrete, but that being said, there are really small interactions that would always mess you up if you put them at the wrong angle. The whole minion horde would connect to your tower, or even bats would get like 3 shots on it, would just bypass. So it's just really obnoxious. Maybe it is enough, maybe, but we'll see. I like to see these balances in little small increments, and if it's not enough, we'll probably see in the 2019.
They've raised the floor of his skill floor, right? We talk about the skill ceiling a lot and like how much value you can get out of a card. You're a lot more likely to just get value out of Magic Archer after just playing him on the field, right? You're less likely to just like completely screw up his deployment now.
I like that a lot. I've never heard of that analogy. You raised the floor. The floor literally was raised.
Yeah.
So the last thing on there that really stands out to me is that the spells can be played on the river.
Oh.
As a mortar player, how do you feel about that?
I think that's amazing. Yeah, when you're defending a mortar against things like a minion horde, sometimes you can kind of get the aim off just a little bit because the river is just right there. I think it'll be a lot easier to hit targets that you're actually aiming for. And this is actually going to be a pretty major spell buff. I'm not going to say it's going to be as big as a buff as the nerf to damage was against towers, but this is going to be a nice way to give spells a little bit more oomph, especially cards like Poison and Fireball, Arrows, kind of the mid-range spells that you kind of want to hit things on both sides of the river with.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. They thought this out too, because pretty much everything can be cast on the river with the exception of the log unless the Princess Tower is down, and the Goblin Barrel.
Yeah.
I love how they thought that it's just not right to drown your gobbies.
No, not at all.
But
you could actually cast the Graveyard on the river, but they just, I think, kind of spawn kind of on either side of the river. They don't want to spawn in the river. That'd just be depressing.
So if you're undead, you can walk on water. Thanks for coming on to the segment. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Do you have any final words?
Thank you very much for tuning in. It's a pleasure, as always, to be on your channel, OJ. I hope that if you guys want to stay tuned for more work that I'm going to be doing on Clash Royale, that you'll follow me over on Twitter at Woody_CR.
Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.